speakers. Thank you. Welcome, all of you. Thank you for coming to our little experiment, technological experiment here. I make a small apology in advance if some of it doesn't work, because it's all very new stuff that we're working on here. I'm Mark, this is Flo, and sitting here hidden in the back is Sam. He's also part of our team, and he's in control today of the button. So, Sam? I want to show you, to start with, basically where we're at. Okay, well, there I am, hiding behind a beam in the studio here. Hello, I'm on stage at Machen Festival, and in real time, we're kind of broadcasting the content of this festival, or at least this one stage, and you can also navigate around this online model, which has many really cool and interesting features to it. We're using various different bits of technology and skills that we've developed over the past few years to arrive at this point. And yes, we'll talk you through how we got here. So if we can go back to the presentation, that would be great. Super high tech here, mouse, click, great. We can skip this slide because that was our backup in case it didn't work, as most of these things do, and especially with the internet here today, which hasn't been amazing. Too much Instagram, I suspect. But yes, interactive 3D, that's what we do now. We haven't been doing that for long, though, because this field is all very new. Florian here is a photographer, has been for many years, and I actually come from the music industry. I've been a sound designer, producer, and project manager for many different projects over the years. And about 4 years ago, for a very piquant reason, I stepped out of music and moved into doing video in 3D. And so this is kind of what we do. We do lots of other things too, but we're very much focused on interactive 3D. And not so much in the gaming sense, although that comes into it a little bit, and we'll explain that a bit later on. Sam? So yes, this is our team. Sam's actually new on the team. We could all welcome him. We're very glad to have him on board. He's the one of us who actually knows how to read and program, which is great because it's really essential. Flo is, of course, as I said, a photographer. My background's in music, but together we make quite a colorful little team. And you might have seen our little stand area in the innovation area. It's the bit that looks like a bit of a living room. That is actually our office. We transplanted it here to the festival so that you can all see where we work, actually, which is quite interesting. So please feel free to come and say hi to us if you want to find out more about exactly what we do and how we operate. Sam? So where did we start? Actually, we just got into making music videos kind of for fun about 4 years ago. And as a result of that, ended up getting into live streaming at the time when everyone needed live streaming. And then we started watching kind of crazy YouTube stuff about all kinds of new ways of broadcasting environments and 3D stuff. And we came across these guys, and I'm crediting them because they really are the inspiration for why we're standing here. Corridor Crew, you may have checked them out. They're a really inspiring team from LA, I believe. Yep. And they made this video about this new technology called neural radiance fields. And we immediately saw it and thought, my God, this is absolutely insane. It's a bit trippy, and it doesn't really work amazingly, but the results that you get from radiance field scanning were something completely different to anything we'd ever seen before. Flo, being a photographer, already had some experience with photogrammetry. Again, we'll talk about that again in a minute. But this video inspired us to really get into doing radiance fields. And next slide. And then we went to Texas this time last year, a little bit earlier. We went to South by Southwest Festival. And at the festival, we realized that there was loads and loads of really cool stuff to scan and make interesting little video reels out of. So we did that, and we posted these video reels. And we did that in many different places. You can go to the next slide as well. We just started scanning lots of the cool stuff from the different brands and the different companies that were there, the stands that were basically showing their wares at the South by Southwest. These are just some of the many kind of interesting and fun little scans that we did. These are all radiance field scans, and they're all made using Luma Labs radiance field application, which is downloadable. You can use it on your phone. You can actually make these scans really pretty easily yourself. that's the simple stuff. In terms of what these various things mean, I'm going to leave that a little bit to Flo here, because he's nerded out a little bit more than I have on the exactly how this all works.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, there's basically 3 ways how you can get to a 3D model. And the first and the traditional way that's been established for many years is photogrammetry. Basically, you take photos and videos, mostly photos, and put them in the software, and that makes a 3D model with meshes, which needs a lot of data to be scanned and to be put in, and a lot of computing power to be made. The thing that comes out is really great. It's really high accurate. It's really established in a professional workflow. So that's how like FX artists or computer gamers or whatever uses 3D models or assets actually been working. So it's been highly worked out, that workflow. But it needs a lot of computing power, it needs a lot of data for input, and it's a really complex workflow. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. So it's not quite as easy to get into. And then we step into the nerve thing. That's what Mark's has been showing, called neural radiance fields. It's basically sort of the same thing. You also take photo and video as input to train something, but you give this data then to an AI or machine learning algorithm, a big server, that then is trained by the data that's been inputted. So it learns light arrays, so it learns how this light beam goes from here to there, and what on all of the parts are being represented. So, which made a lot of things possible that weren't possible in photogrammetry. For example, see-through stuff like glass, plastics, reflective surfaces, mirrors and stuff. That was all not possible with photogrammetry before. And it made it quite easy to use, actually, and gave really interesting results. You've seen the examples, what we did in South by Southwest before, but it still needs a big computer, and needs to be processed on a big scale. So that's like roughly around a year old, and then came Gaussian Splat, which kind of was developed on top of neural radiance field, but it doesn't require as much computing power anymore. It also uses photo and video as input, but it's not training it doesn't need an AI or machine learning server to learn the model and how it works and how reflections and details work. It actually just creates also a point cloud, just points, so it knows, okay, this corner, and then it knows this corner, makes these 2 points, and to fill the space in between the 2 points, for example, it uses a Gaussian Gaussian algorithm. No, Gaussian. What's the word? Function. So it uses a Gaussian function to see to fill this gap. And the function, or Gaussian function, actually looks like it's round and it's like a cloud. So it's a Gaussian, you know, maybe from Photoshop, like Gaussian blurring, right? It's something that's just like a puffy cloud. So it kind of makes everything, like this points, like makes them really blurry, and that creates a surface, and that makes it look also really soft and cool. And it also it doesn't need as much high performance. It's much more flexible. It can actually run on small devices and can be now further used for other purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. So next slide, please, Sam. Yeah, so this is the workflow. I mean, we've been through this a few times now, and we're going to do a really quick example. I haven't got time, so you're going to have to keep check on this. Yep. So the very first part of this process, just to clarify, the workshop here, or the talk is titled Live Creation of a Digital Twin. Actually, it's creation of a real-time digital twin. We're not going to build the entire spinnerai right now. It would be too much of a task, although we have just recently scanned it again with all of the Machen content, and we can transplant that into our model so that we can do this real-time event up to date with the infrastructure and the colors that are here. But we're just going to do a very quick example of how this works. Yeah. Hopefully the microphones don't go crazy when it comes to stand over here. Yeah. So this is really simple, actually. I just have to stand here, kind of not moving.
Not moving is kind of the point. So I take a video now, and basically the more data, the better. So and I need all possible angles as much. So I go around like this to scan this angle. Then I go from above to down under, like that. And then I go and do this. from underneath upwards. Ideally, I don't block myself with the lights and stuff, so I would do this with different light. And that's it. So I scanned him now, and you can see the result.
So that gets uploaded to the Luma server, and they calculate these radiance fields, which, as Flo was indicating, it effectively works out intersections or light paths.
Do a refresh. You can see the point cloud in the beginning. Just do a...
Yeah. So this is the point cloud, and it's being populated with this Gaussian Splat effect. So you can kind of see how it takes these various data points, these points on the cloud mesh, and it applies these tiny little splats, these tiny little blurry little splat is a great word for it, because that's kind of what it is. And then it reconstructs the textures, the colors, and the surfaces. And it does it with an incredible degree of accuracy, considering the small amount of data that's required. And it also, very importantly, works out the intersection of the various light paths, so that as you move around, the reflections move with you, the shadows move with you. Unlike with photogrammetry, where you get what you see and you don't have this interaction with light, you have to then program photogrammic models in an engine, in a game engine like Unreal, in order to then apply light to it afterwards, etc. It gets really complicated. Radiance fields enable you to get these kind of crazy results. You can see this isn't the scan we just did, because it does take a little bit of time. Another limitation, you can't do them real time. And you get results like this. If we could go back to the presentation, Sam, that would be great. So this is the workflow. We'll go to the next slide. This is just going to show you a very quick, this is what Flo's been doing on and off over the past month, whenever the weather was kind of halfway decent, not too much sun, coming down here with a drone, flying around the spinnerai, scanning it in, throwing all of that data into our computer and running it until it nearly melts, to build this kind of large-scale point cloud, which you can see here. And then the computation occurs, and that then enables us to move to the next stage, which is having some Gaussian splats. And as you can see, we've just loaded up here a couple of examples of stuff that we've shot in our studio. You see, that's the studio. It looks almost exactly like our little area in the innovation area. The next slide. So it's a kind of a new thing that all of these radiance fields kind of now start with this splatting. And we just wanted to bring that into the presentation so you can kind of see, it's a good way of illustrating what the process is. The Volkerschlacht Denkmal as well, which I think is pretty impressive to be able to get that model. Application. So this is something that you've been working on a little bit more. This particular model here is built with a piece of software called Spline. And you actually built this one yourself, didn't you? Yeah. So Spline is a fairly easy program where you can do 3D stuff with, and also for websites and stuff. And they also accept these Gaussian Splat files. Sam, if you can go to the real model. So we in an interactive map, so you can maybe show around and just cruise with the mouse. So you can see this is a 3D model. You can zoom in and out, and then you can basically just click on anything you want to see, basically. That's where the innovation stage, that's where our little Messestand is at, exactly. So you can animate basically anything in here. You can get other 3D assets in here, and you can also take this now and send this to other people, put this on the website, and yeah. That is a fairly easy workflow how you can use. It's also possible to gamify things a little bit in Spline, so you can have a great deal of interaction. And that brings us to the next intersection in our journey, where we've discovered that all of this stuff that we've got to so far can actually now be integrated with new plugins into software such as Unity, Unreal, and newly this software Needle Engine, which is a company from Halle.
Exactly.
So really interesting stuff. Very early development stages. Yeah. Sam is actually slowly becoming their #1 original poster because pretty much every request that we've put in is now being developed into their software, because we're really kind of pushing their format. So Needle, just real quick, Needle is sort of what JavaScript is for 3D on the web. So it actually makes it possible for a Unity run thing to be able to be online. And online means I can do all crazy stuff with it now. So this is not just a 3D model like in Spline, where I pre-program, like there's Machen Stage and other things on it. No, this is actually live on the internet, an interactive, multiplayable
model. So
and the key word there, sorry, is multiplayer. So
yes.
things that happen in here now, that are interactions that happen with people who are inside this environment and interacting with interfaces within that environment, such as cameras or speakers or whatever it is that is in that environment, is now actually represented inside the model immediately. So we're moving into this gamification where you're not just a singular entity inside a model, but you're actually part of a collective entity that's inside the model interacting. Very much like anybody who's played GTA or Fortnite or any of these other multiplayer online games is playing, but we're bringing it into a completely different application sphere by looking at what we can do with it in terms of events. Events specifically, because obviously real time has to have a reason, you know, like stuff that you can watch later, fine. This isn't really necessary to go down this route, but stuff that's really time critical, things that really matter in the now, that's kind of what we're interested in, which is why the word real time, 3D, multiplayer is kind of where we're at.
Exactly, and when you can see the little screen, we're still on the little screen live. So you can still see us, moving about, and we're still live in the model. So on.
Oh no, there's latency.
It's not that bad.
It's like half a second. No, but that's to be expected because this is going through servers somewhere else. Yeah,
and this workflow has basically only been possible for a couple of days. So this is an absolutely new cutting-edge way of doing this right now. So.
Yeah, particularly with the feeds into the program. I mean, it's obviously quite possible to have interactive real-time experiences with avatars and with developed game elements, but actually to have it with real-time feeds from ultimately, ideally, live streams is a very new thing. And obviously, you can imagine the potential that has for things like festival events or events like this, where you then actually could have potentially a global real-time audience. Just from a commercial point of view, that means your ticket sales are not limited by the number of people that can actually travel to the site. And of course, again, it's really important that the content that you're delivering in that sense has some value in real time, because otherwise you just record it all and show it later, which you can also do. So we can record everything that happens at this event, archive it, put it into a model, and you can go into the model and you can go, okay, I want to be there now, or I want to go to last year's event.
And the other thing is now, since we're running on gaming engines, you can also because of Nido, you can put like your Apple Vision Pro or your MetaQuest VR goggles on, and you can actually dive into the model. You could actually, if you spent more computing and more time, more data, we could actually scan everything, like the inside of this room as well, like the basement where our stage is, and then you can actually walk in there and you can experience what's been happening in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we're doing well on time. Here's a little diagram to make everyone think that we're super clever. This is all about the mechanics. I mean, just to kind of really briefly encapsulate why this and how this works and how we can move from photogrammetry, which is a real thing. There's a company in Potsdam, Volucap. They've really been pioneering what they call 4D models. So they get actors and they put them on in an assembly of about 60 cameras shooting 60 frames, high resolution video footage, and then they build actual small purchasable little video actors. 4D people that you can put in your there's many examples. Netflix 1899. That's pretty much entirely shot at the
in a virtual environment. Basically,
what's the place called with the huge screen? The volume or something. It's also got a volume thing. So it's all with a screen, and most of the actors who aren't actors, the guys that stand in the background, extras, they're all actually just purchased little digital avatars. Yeah. And that's kind of cool, but again, we come back to the point that that's a huge amount of data. That means that transmitting that stuff real time, actually right now, just isn't possible. It does give you super high realism, is super accurate, but real time's just not possible. And the reason why this works so well is because we're just translating points, and we're translating points, not frames, and we're points, not pixels. And instead of transmitting frames, we're actually transmitting transform functions. So instead of saying this frame is changing and the data in this pixel is changing every 24 frames, we're saying, oh, this data point here moves in this direction for X amount of time with this velocity. And these functions enable this data to be compressed to a very small number, which enables us to get very close to what we're now developing, which is real-time volumetric video.
Also, just stay with that slide one more second, please, before you go to that one. And this also, the other upside of this is, for example, that's why it's dynamic modeling as well, and maybe illustrates this point thing a little bit better. Is for now, I had to screen him or scan him while he was like froze like that to get all the angles. But this actually this paper makes it possible. It's also based on Gaussian splatting, that it just learns the points that you have, so you can just move about and do this and whatever you do, but it still learns that this point is this point. It doesn't matter how it's related to my avatar, but it still knows this point. So if you just give it enough data, even if they're dynamic, it can still create then an avatar of you. Mm-hmm. So that's just another. The
real-time video actually being able to move around. And here is, this is very, very new. This is the first proof of concept. These guys have been pushing this format a bit. We're following very closely what's happening, but this is exactly where we're going. You can imagine that we're not far away from it now. My projection is as soon as somebody gives us a couple of million, we've got this on a shelf. No joke, but this is where we're at. So there we go. You can have a real-time volumetric video. I mean, this is playing in the Unreal Engine integration, which is also a very new tool that's become available to us. You can skip to the next slide. I don't want to show too much of that. So yeah, just to kind of cap this off, we want to look at some of the emerging markets. This is all the business end of it, but we're at about 2 billion, I think, or no, is it 500 million is the volumetric video market right now. As soon as we hit real-time volumetrics, we're talking about huge amounts of money here, sport particularly, because just to put this seed in your mind, I'm not really a football follower myself, but most people know what football is. It's the UEFA World Cup, it's some European Cup. See, I don't know about football, but it's happening now. And on the 13th of June, 14th of June is the final. So with real-time volumetric video, you could choose where you stand. You can follow your favorite player around the football pitch. You can stand wherever you like. You could even pretend to be the goalkeeper. You could get in the ring with Tyson. You could stand on the track for the F1. I mean, that's why the sport industry is potentially one of the biggest. I kind of assumed that medicine and education might be the biggest benefits, but of course, you know, everybody likes entertainment. So yeah, that's a little bit of what we see as the trajectory for what we're doing right now. We're super interested to talk to anybody who has interest in this process, especially people who have potentially some angles on sound within this potential future volumetric environments, because sound capture is going to be a real challenge. You can choose where you stand to look at it, but how do we get the sound to sound realistic? Until we get there, we also make lots of awesome music. And one of our other projects, the Live Lab, we'll be showcasing later on in the innovation area. We're doing some sound design workshops. We're also going to be doing a live music production experience, I'll call it now, because we don't know quite how that's going to work out. And we're also organizing the after party this evening. So if you're still here after 10 o'clock, you can come and shake a leg with us. Thank you very much.
QR code?
Wait, sorry.
Still a QR code?
Oh yes, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
If you want to have a check out of our latest little spline thing that we're running.
Yeah, the little interactive digital twin map you just seen with a pink background where you can see where the stages are is basically the little takeaway you guys can have.
And that was it, right?
That was it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
1, 2 questions?
Cool.